How do you feel when you hear or see this word, shark? No, really, think about it for a second. Because I can bet you all the money shark movies make at the box office that majority of the people would feel fear. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but with the way these shark films and attention-grabbing media have made us feel about them, it's no surprise that most of us are deathly afraid to encounter even one in our lifetime. Now, what if I told you that there were actually a handful of people around the world that love, protect, and see sharks in a completely different light because they literally swim with, hand feed, and even give them a cuddle every now and then? Well, conservationists like the Beqa Adventure Divers are some of those people. And tonight we're taking you with us on a shark diving adventure. Stay tuned.
Beqa Adventure Divers, or B.A.D for short, is a conservation group running a dive shop. For us, our main mission, or goal if you will, is the protection of Fiji's local shark populations. On our dive, you can actually see up to 8 different species of shark and the largest aggregate of bull sharks anywhere in the world. We conduct shark dives 5 days a week, and there are 2 tank dives out at the Shark Reef Marine Reserve. We have 2 types of ways in which we feed the sharks. One is an aerial feed. We do this by means of a suspended bait bin, which houses a whole bunch of yummy tuna. We have a dive master, which will swim with this bin and deposit the tuna heads over the sharks for them to feed from below. We also hand feed our sharks. We hand feed bull sharks, gray reefs, black tips, and white tip reef sharks.
Beqa Adventure Divers, we are involved in a series of conservation work. A very important part of our daily shark dive is that we collect shark observation data from shark dives that will be helpful for us, that will go back into our database. One very important part of that is actually to name our shark, individual shark, and also keep a record of them on every shark dive.
The method of giving names is just trying to identify some of the sharks which have something a little bit peculiar in terms of their outside appearance. You know, if they are marks, maybe like a missing anal fin, for instance, or maybe a cut first dorsal fin, cut in half. We don't only know the names, but we also know the personalities. Some of them may be cool, some of them may be a little bit timid and stay back on the background. Some of them may be a little bit cuckoo, so they think they're the only shark present in the feeding arena, and so on.
The reef where we're actually doing the shark feeding, which is called Shark Reef Marine Reserve, belongs to the people of Ngalwa traditionally. So we established it as a locally managed marine protected area in 2004. Then the company had a few struggles to actually convince the government to pass it on. There were changes of government as well. So then in 2014 they managed to pass it as a levy to government, where it became Fiji's first marine reserve.
We are just so proud that our shark diving or shark feeding activity has been recognized by the state. So we are the first national marine park in Fiji, the first of its kind in the entire Fiji under our stewardship. So we are treating this SRMR, or Shark Reef Marine Reserve. It's not only for shark feeding or shark diving, but we also conduct research activities. Okay, behind this big picture is really conservation work, which is something that we are going to preach about and to proclaim as part of our awareness program, not only to the general public but also to the grassroots level.
Actually, Beqa Adventure Divers is a conservation group running a dive shop. For us, our main mission is the protection of Fiji's local shark populations. But in order to do this, we must protect the habitat within which they live. So our main focus is ultimately the hands-on protection of the reef environment and the research and protection of shark species here in Fiji.
Did you know, according to scientific research, just like humans, sharks have personalities too. While some are shy and fearless, others are risk takers that do not hesitate to explore new territories. I asked Natasha to tell us more.
You've got sharks that kind of run the spectrum. You've got really shy sharks, you have really sweet sharks, you have sharks that are really bold, you have sharks that have a sense of humor, you have sharks that are not the nicest, you know what I mean, to be around. So they're all different. There's like you and your family members or your friends, you know what I mean? And then depending on the day, you know, say for instance, if you went out to a club with one girlfriend, you know what I mean, that's your best BFF, you know, then you run into like your arch enemy, you know what I mean? Your mood will change like that. It's the same with the sharks. So depending on who else is, you know what I mean, on the reserve at the same time, and depending on what they're going through. Like if, you know, if I was pregnant, I may not be in the best mood, you know what I mean, today, or I may have other things on my mind. Same thing with them, you know, when it comes to the sharks, one of the really cool things is that their personality, like you and I, is pretty consistent, you know what I mean? So you know what you're gonna get when you see them. So the shark is acting the same way 10 years ago, it'll be acting the same way today, pretty much.
Wow. It's time for some shark fun facts. Whilst the blue whale holds the record for being the largest living mammal, the whale shark is the largest fish species to live, and each whale shark spot pattern is as unique as a fingerprint. Basking shark follows as the second largest fish alive, and interestingly, basking sharks have almost completely lost their teeth. They now have hundreds of tiny curved teeth that are no longer useful for capturing food, so they swim with their mouths wide open and filter plankton and small crustaceans out of the water with their tightly set gill rakers. Number 2. Did someone say a vegetarian shark? Because in 2018, scientists discovered the world's first omnivorous shark, bonnethead. The bonnethead is a small relative of the more famous hammerhead. Number 3. We may collectively refer to them as that, but not all sharks are apex predators.
Oh, no way. There's no way they're all apex predators, and they're most definitely not all dangerous to humans. So you have a very few, like here in Fiji, we have a handful of species, you know, that can be considered dangerous to humans, which are your tiger sharks, right? Your bull sharks, oceanic white tips, mako sharks, but they're not, so, I mean, you've got pocket sharks, I mean little cat sharks, you know, all these tiny small species. So there's just a range of shark species, and not all of them are potentially dangerous to humans, just a handful, especially here in Fiji. And from what you can see just from the news, I mean absolutely nobody in Fiji has been killed by a shark, and there's tons of people going out every day in the ocean.
Coming up right after this, an underwater shark haven. Recently joined the Beqa Adventure Divers on their routine shark dive at Fiji's only Shark Reef Marine Reserve in Nawa. From the dock to the reef, the views were breathtaking. Even if you didn't plan on doing the shark dive, you'd still go home feeling utterly satisfied with the beautiful scenery and the peaceful nature of the open ocean. We were blessed with a beautiful sunny day and calm waters, ideal for an incredible shark diving experience. Team are getting ready for their dive. We're here at the location at Shark Reef, and I'm a huge llama when it comes to sharks, so I'm not going to go in the water. I'm just going to cheer them on from the top. As the team made their way down, we waited on board the Predator, anticipating the stories of what they were about to experience.
The shark dive setup is mostly once we get deeper, you'll be expecting a lot of bull sharks, right? And if you're lucky enough, you'll be seeing a tiger shark, right? And on your way up to about 10 meters, you'll be seeing the medium-sized sharks, right? Medium-sized sharks. I'm wearing a medium. Medium-sized shark would be a gray reef, white tip, silver tip, right? And yes, the reef sharks, while you're at the top, you'll be expecting more reef sharks, the black tips, the white tips, and lots of fishes. And the good thing is we're not only focusing on the sharks, a lot of tropical fishes and coral as well.
So it's really important for us, need to take tourists out, because not only are the levy, the money that's coming in from the tourist dive, going to now, support the local community, because the money is funneled back into the traditional owners, of Shark Reef. The village of Niloa, they use for infrastructure, for education, for all of these things, but also to educate, So you educate people, you educate tourists on, shark behavior, the ecosystem, the importance of sharks like in our oceans, and for research. So we do quite a bit of research on Shark Reef. We've got actually more papers than USP when it comes to, over 24 research papers on Shark Reef.
Whoa! Oh, I can see one.
There you go.
As the crew made their way back up, I managed to spot what looked like a tawny nurse shark from our boat. How was the dive, Fateh?
Really good. It's about seeing the way they adapt to seeing something new. As for us, seeing us underwater, there sometimes they even spooked out seeing a human. And even for us, we were scared of them. But sometimes we didn't know that they were scared of us. So getting to know them, they'll get a chance to know you as well. So I would say it's better for you just to come and see it for yourself and dive with us and get to see how they really behave. Normally, not all sharks are quite aggressive. When you swim with them, then you'll see all they want is just to mind their own business, get fed, or hunt for their food.
I've been doing this nearly every day, like 5 times a week. It does make you a bit more friendly with sharks, so that's why I love doing this job, because I've been hanging around with them all of the time.
Before you started doing this job, what did you think of sharks?
Before, I have a mindset that was passing down from generation to generation that sharks are harmful. But matter of fact, in reality, I've come to realize that sharks are not harmful. Yeah.
Welcome back from dive number 2.
Yeah.
How was this one?
Yeah, really good.
Was this your first time doing a shark dive?
Yes. Here it was. I've done a shark dive in, was it Port Arthur? Oh, Port Lincoln. Yeah, with the great white sharks in a cage dive. And another one in Hawaii.
And how was this different?
There was a lot to be seen. There was like plenty. They all kind of knew like their boundaries as well, like how kind of where they are and where we are. Like they didn't really they weren't too interested in what we were doing. They were more just kind of interested in like everything else that was going on down there. So you felt very safe.
How was it?
Awesome.
What do you love so much about shark dives?
I just think it's great to get the message out there that we're not on their menu.
Yeah.
They're a lot of fun to look at, their behaviour's beautiful, they're gorgeous looking animals, and you can get up close and personal with them and don't have to fear them.
Would you encourage the people watching to take part in something like this?
Absolutely. And that's what I hope my photos do too when I take photos or talk to people back home about my shark experiences, is just to demystify that whole idea that sharks are dangerous.
Actually, the sharks were super calm today. So we had a day where it's calm, and then under the water it's also calm. Like some days it's crazy because you'll have a really stormy, like nasty day, and then under the water it's like heaven. Yeah, but today everyone was super calm. It was a beautiful day today.
I have two favorite shark, which is bull shark, and one of them is curly and the other one is fold. I like them so much because first time I started, I've been seeing them coming around, and I was nervous at first seeing them, but after a few dives with them, I've seen that they respect humans a lot. Like you feel safe in feeding them because they come in very slow. They'll pick the food off your hand and then they'll go the other way. Yeah, so it's just like teaching your dogs what to do, and they'll do what you're teaching them.
A favorite shark? Yes, that's a good question. Favorite shark, I would say the ones that are really big and they're slow. I would go with Curly. Most of the time she would be gentle with us. Come in slow, take the food, not in a rush or in a crazy way, then swim slowly in front of the guest with the mouth open and full of tuna.
Do you have a favorite shark, by the way?
Oh my god, I have several. So I have, we can go by species or, the bulls, I have a bunch, but my absolute favorite is a female bull shark named Brooke. So she's not like, I wouldn't, say, oh, she's the most beautiful, because she's like a war-torn, ragged, like big mama, been around, and seen it. Like, she was actually one of the first sharks named back in 2003. So you're talking about 20 years that she's been visiting. And she's called Crook because she's got these crooks on the side of her mouth, and it's stealing fisherman bait, getting hooked. Anyway, whatever's been happening, whether it's her mischievous ways, she gets caught on lines, and then the hooks are what disfigured her mouth, basically. So she's super mischievous, and she's got a sense of humor. So if you could imagine a shark with a sense of humor. But she's a big mama, super dominant, with a crazy personality, and I absolutely love her. She's my favorite shark. They're just like dogs. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're just like dogs. The only thing I would say that's different between the bull sharks, one of the biggest things, is that they're not driven by affection, right? So affection is not the motivation. The shark is not coming to you wanting to be rubbed, wanting to be touched, wanting to be snuggled, but they behave very much like dogs. So you have to know how to work with them, how to handle them, and to respect them, and get respect. And that's really what the most important thing is.
I know you're about to go for the second round of your dive, so maybe I can get you after.
Yeah, we'll do it afterwards.
Okay.
But we got to get you in the water next time, girlie.
It's from the bull shark down there.
That's a boat. Wow.
Wow, that's
Wow. Thank you. Did you guys just get this now?
Yes.
Yeah, in the morning.
That's just now.
Wow. Corey has just given me a bull shark tooth as my gift, and I hope that this is the closest I will ever be to a bull shark's teeth.
There you go. You can see the scratches.
Oh! Oh! They even take a bite out of the bins. Wow. And that's all empty. Had a good feed. Well, now that that's out of the way and everyone's back home safely, let's go and debunk some misconceptions about sharks. That's coming up.
Our journey back to land kicked off with a spectacular display of the second Beqa Adventure Divers boat, Hunter, taking the lead. Soaking in the gorgeous sun and salty sea breeze, we made our way back to the dive shop to debunk the most common misconceptions people may have about sharks.
So there's a lot of misconceptions. I mean, you hear a lot of stuff. I think one of the biggest things has to be that sharks are these mindless man-eaters, you know what I mean, that are targeting you. So every time you hit the water, they're just coming for you, or you know what I mean, that they just want to get you, basically, is one of the biggest misconceptions. I mean, there's over 500 species of sharks, right, in the world, and not all of them are high up on that level in terms of being an apex predator. And sharks are definitely not out to, as a matter of fact, even the bull sharks, like big species like a bull shark, are actually really shy sharks. So when they see humans, they just want to go the other way. Yeah.
I think the biggest misconception is what they've been taught and what they've heard from their parents regarding sharks in Fiji. Because I usually have the same mindset when I was a kid, when I heard people saying that sharks are harmful and they're so aggressive and they can harm people whenever they want, which is not what I've seen when it comes to diving with them. If I have to change the mindset of people, especially in Fiji, I'll first ask them a question is if have they ever seen someone swimming freely and being harmed by a shark? I haven't heard that and I haven't seen that happen. So sharks just go on their own. They hunt their own food, and humans are not on the menu.
Misconception would be having the thought of sharks are all dangerous and they bite to kill.
Yeah.
Growing up with that kind of mindset, it's passed on from generation to generation, and even watching the Jaws and all the kind of movies. Those kind of mindset is, it means that you haven't seen the reality of how all the sharks are. Like I've said, different type of species, different types of behaviors. For the sharks, they steal the shark, right? They steal the shark. They have their own ways of, it's their nature to use their teeth and to eat or to defend themselves. But there's a different type of species, a lot of species. So, not all sharks are quite dangerous. Not all sharks are apex predators. So sometimes you get a chance. It's always best to come close to them and just see it yourself. Like for us, because we are actually close by, we are actually this close to them. We see them in a different way compared to those who haven't dived, who haven't been in the sea. They see sharks in a different way. And yes, we have to understand that's where they are coming from. That's their truth. Yeah. That's how they've been founded of. That's their perspective of seeing the sharks.
And now for our Mythbuster. Are sharks attracted to human blood?
Sharks really, they don't want to have anything really to do with us. They're usually, I mean, with bull sharks, they're actually a really shy species. So if we weren't feeding them, they're not going to want to have anything to do with us. As soon as we jump in the water and went down, you wouldn't see a bull shark because they don't want to have scalloped hammerheads. Super shy shark, you know. That's why they tell you if you're diving to breathe nice and slow and easy, because you make bubbles and you scare the hammerheads away, right? But no, I mean, when it comes to shark meat, you're talking about attracting things that attract the sharks are a lot of crazy thrashing around movement, you know what I mean, which would be the sign like of an injured fish, an injured prey item, right? So thrashing around movement and obviously blood, but not our blood, you know what I mean? So if we cut ourselves in the water, you know, and I've cut myself on coral, you know what I mean, down there. We've had, you know, clients cut themselves on a coral. The sharks are not interested, and there's actually been research. They filmed it, I think it was like on Shark Week or something. Yeah. With our blood, they're not interested in our blood, right? The scent is not anything that stimulates them. Tuna, right? Sunfish, any fish blood, it's completely different story, you know? But they're attracted to that scent, right? And then the motion, the activity in the water, which means that, you know, there's some prey item that they can grab. But the most risk that you would put to yourself is if you're spearfishing, you know what I mean? And so, like, when you're spearfishing and you catch a fish, you know what I mean? You obviously don't want to tie it onto your waist, you know? You want to kind of drag a surface bucket or something, but you also don't want to stand around with a thrashing fish. So if you attract a shark, you know what I mean? If there is a gray reef, if there are sharks that come and they want that fish that you just caught, just give it to them. You know what I mean? Because that's how you'll get into trouble. You know, you don't want to get into a war, into a fight over, you know what I mean? Over an item that you speared, you know what I mean?
And
or
with
for
a
sea bass, or for, you know what I mean? With a shark. Then you're going to get bit, you know? But they're actually really good at, you know, communicating to us to kind of stay away. If you swim towards a shark, they're swimming away from you. You know, they don't want to have anything to do with you. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to electroreceptors and vision and sense and stuff, so they have a good sense of vision, but their snout is armed with these electroreceptors. They're called ampullae di Lorenzini, and these pick up the, you know what I mean, the little electrical signals, and this is how they can sense certain prey items and things, you know what I mean. So in really low light conditions, you know, in bad visibility conditions and stuff, it's the electric. And they have a lateral line going from the snout all the way down the back, and so they're pretty much armed to pick up all sorts of, so your heartbeat, chemical, you know what I mean, any kind of electric signal. That's why they're also attracted to the dive lights. So sometimes they'll come and take a nibble on your dive camera lights because they emit electrical charge. Yeah. That's why some of the cable lines, you know what I mean, that are on the ocean floor for, like, you know what I mean, internet, all this stuff like that, your cable lines have been damaged by shark bites because they're emitting an electrical charge. Yeah.
Have you ever wanted to adopt a shark? If you answered yes, you're in luck. Natasha tells us more about their My Fiji Shark adoption program.
My Fiji Shark program is actually, it's a really cool a program that we have where you can adopt one of the sharks that visit Shark Reef. And so we've, like I mentioned before, we do a lot of research here. So we've got this big database, you know what I mean? And all these guys that, you know, marine biologists and dive masters that have been diving with the same sharks every day for years. I mean, we have some sharks coming for 20 years. So they get to know the personality, they see the life history, you know, what the shark is doing, when they're mating, are they injured, you know, all of these things that we take down, you know, and that we keep records of. And so when an individual has a name and a personality, then we can adopt them out, you know what I mean? We can adopt them out, and so people can get to know sharks in a way that they've never really imagined like was possible, kind of getting a window into their life. But also the purpose of the program is to help support shark conservation. So there are some key objectives that we have from My Fiji Shark, and one of them is sustainable fisheries, so coastal fisheries management. We've designed pilot project and raising funding for that, you know, here in Fiji. So everything has to do with conservation here in Fiji. So for our sharks and rays, so protection, you know, and also for ocean, you know, conservation, to protect our resources, you know what I mean, and secure them for future generations.
Yes, so important. They play a big role in our ecosystem because with the sharks, you'll see that there'll be live corals and soft corals glowing, and you'll see way more beautiful things underneath the sea. You'll only experience that if you do scuba diving. You dive through all the coral reefs around Fiji, which are so beautiful, and many people don't have experience on that, so they just get the information regarding what they hear, but not trying to go down there and see for themselves. the reality you were talking about.
The ocean is like this magnificent, magical kind of playground. There's just so much, going on that 100% I would say, come learn how to dive, learn how to snorkel, just get in the ocean. But if you come shark dive, then you can see what you're so, I guess, what makes you nervous or anxious or scared, or you may fear. When you see that, thing face to face, that your ideas, your views will change. Yeah.
You can find out more about how to take part in their incredible shark dives by getting in touch with Beqa Adventure Divers' social media and website. And another way to help support their conservation efforts and maintain a healthy shark population for the sake of our ocean's future is by purchasing the Fiji Shark Dive merch and souvenirs. These can be found at the dive shop at the Lagoon Resort in Pacific Harbour, or you can swipe some up online via the My Fiji Shark website.
Well, I hope our episodes on sharks have changed your mind a little bit about them, or maybe helped you understand them a little bit better. We had so much fun with the Beqa Adventure Divers team, and if you want to learn more about the kind of work that they do, if you want to help adopt a shark, then please head to myfijishark.com. Now I'm going to do what I've been wanting to do all day, and that is go for a swim. I don't have my bathers here, but that's all right. Okay. We're gonna go just as we are.